at Arafah, the first person you are honoring is Adam. Why? Because when Adam sat at Mount Arafah, he reflected on his life and he began to ask for forgiveness. He says, but do you know what the difference between Adam's Arafah and yours is? Adam wasn't sure if he was getting forgiven. Whereas if you doubt you're being forgiven, your Hajj is incomplete. Imam Sadiq says that if a person doubts they've been forgiven at Arafah, then in one narration he says the person is a sinner, and another narration he says their Hajj is incomplete. He says when you sit there, all of a sudden knowledge has grown inside you. Which knowledge? That what type of merciful Lord is this? That all my life I have been arrogant towards His commands, and I have neglected His commands, and I haven't honored His message. Yet when I come to Arafah, He tells me that when you're sitting at Arafah, I want you to have the knowledge that if you doubt that I've forgiven you, then your Hajj is incomplete. And then Shariati says, why is Arafah at Dhuhr time, at midday? Why? Shariati says the reason Arafah is at midday is because it's to reflect that you are now at the Dhuhr of your life, the midway part of your life. When you sit at Arafah, you reflect. Say you're 25 years old. You now ask yourself a question. That the way I've lived my life, now I've got to make a decision. When I return back home to London, am I going to go this way or that? At Arafah, you are told to sit at Dhuhr because Dhuhr represents the midway point of your life. And then Shariati says at Arafah, what are you meant to do? What are you meant to look at? He says nothing. You're not meant to look at nothing. At Arafah, you go there, there's really nothing to look at. He says, glory be to your look, not what you're looking at. This is a unique line. I tell you, there are few who have given a line, this description of Arafah. Glory be to your look, not what you're looking at. Tell me, what is a greater reflection? When you're looking at something or you're looking at yourself in the mirror and asking yourself, how am I living my life? Shariati says, glory be to your look at Arafah. Forget that there's no rivers or there's no buildings. That look of introspection is the treasure in this religion. Glory be to your look at Arafah. That now you are looking in a way which you've never looked at before. When you came on this journey, you may have been a wolf or a rat or a fox or a sheep. Now your look is a different look. Allah then tells you, leave Arafah at Maghrib time. Go where? Go towards Muzdalifah. And when you go towards Muzdalifah, Shariati, how does he describe Muzdalifah? He says when you get to Muzdalifah, the first thing you're told is that you're going to sleep under the darkness of the night. He says, don't look at the darkness of the night. Rather say that the darkness of sin has now left me and the light is now going to enter me. He says at Arafah you were knowledge. Now you are consciousness. Now note the difference. At Arafah, I am knowledge. I now know what I have done wrong. I am now forgiven. At Muzdalifah, I am conscious now. Where's those pebbles? Bring them to me. I want to collect them. Why do I want to collect those pebbles? Because that enemy who for years has been affecting me, I'm in a state of consciousness now where I want to meet him. And I'm ready to meet him. How many of us, before Hajj, Shaitan, Shaitan is just too strong for us, we can't get past Shaitan. And there are some of us, everything is blamed on Shaitan. Everything. Who done it? Shaitan. Who made it? Shaitan. As in you don't have no responsibility yourself. Shaitan is the cause of everything. He says now, look at the human. The human which God envisaged when He created Adam. The human of knowledge has now become the human of consciousness. That human's going to pick up pebbles. One by one He picks them up. He says at Muzdalifah, the difference between all soldiers and the soldiers at Muzdalifah is that all soldiers the night before a war are merrymaking and drinking. Whereas the soldiers of Muzdalifah are counting the number of times they say Subhanallah, Walhamdulillah, Wa la ilaha illallah. There's a consciousness and a love for God. He says then when you go towards Mina, you've taken those stones. He goes, when you've gone and taken those stones, he goes, there's too many people who focus. When you throw the stone, according to Sayed so-and-so, make sure you throw it on the circumference of the angle of the square root of the degree of the 98 towards the middle. He says there's too many people focusing on this. He says, has any of those scholars who has come back from Hajj ever said that each of those pebbles, it represents a particular attribute of yours which you're not proud of? One pebble represents, for example, greed. A second, gluttony. A third, lust. A fourth, anger. A fifth, an oppressive side to you. A sixth, gossip side to you. A seventh, backbiting. Shariati says, take those pebbles, and when you take those pebbles and you're throwing it at that wall, throw those attributes out of your life. Don't just stand there and think, okay, has it touched the wall or hasn't it? Because then you're just performing a set of rituals anybody else could have performed. He says, when you throw those pebbles, throw those areas out of your life. Then do you know what he says? He talks of the sacrifice. And when he talks of the sacrifice, he has a stunning line. I recommend all of you to read it. He says, what's your Ismail? What's your Ismail? He says, that man went and took his son, and he was ready to sacrifice him there and then. He said, what's your Ismail? What's the one area in your life which you keep postponing? There's a one area in all of our lives here today. One area. How many times in our communities have you heard people saying, when I go to Hajj, then I'll become religious. But for now, let me enjoy myself. Sometimes you even get parents saying that. Let the person enjoy themselves. Then maybe 40, 50, they'll get forgiveness when they go to Hajj. Shariati says, what's your Ismail? Is your Ismail the fact that you want to wear the scarf, but you're thinking twice about it? Maybe then now the time is for you to come and say, I'll make the sacrifice. If that man was willing to sacrifice his son, then why aren't I willing to sacrifice this? Is your sacrifice, for example, that there's a particular profession where you know the money is great, but there's no service to the religion of Islam in it at all? And that you know if you went for a job where the money is less, there is service to the religion of Islam? Maybe that's your Ismail, that you stand there and you say that, you know what, why can't I sacrifice in the way those holy 14 gave everything to me? Will it really make a difference if I lose a few grand to give everything to them? He says everybody has an Ismail. And that when you come to sacrifice, look at that animal. Don't look at it and say it's a sheep. Rather look at it and say that that's the area of my life which I promise and I swear by the Lord, when I return back to my country, that sacrifice will be my Ismail and I'll perform it. Then he says, but do you notice sometimes you're told at Mina you have to stay extra? He says, why do you have to stay extra at Mina in that period? Why do you need extra pebbles? He says, do you think Shaitan's just left you? You've thrown 7 parts of Shaitan out of your life, but he's still waiting to come back. So he says, have you prepared more ammunition? Because if you haven't, then be prepared. Because the moment you return back to your country, Shaitan's going to be back on you again. But he says that Arafah you are knowledge, at Muzdalifah you are consciousness, at Mina you are now love. At Mina you are willing to sacrifice an area because of your love for the Creator rather than love for the creation. Having said all of this, you find Shariati says only then can you realize the greatness of Hajj. But then he says when you return, look at the colors who surround you of the different schools of the religion of Islam. There are people who are black and white, people of different colors. There is Sunni and Shia. And there are those who claim to be the Salaf or the Wahhabi. There are those who claim to be the Sufi or the Deobandi or the Brelwi. All these different schools. He says, but do you notice when we're all together how strong we are? So why don't we ensure that unity when we go back to our countries? That the Quran says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on to the rope of God and do not disunite. Here Shariati says, look how strong we are when we are not disunited. That this verse was revealed about the Aws and the Khazraj. When the Aws and the Khazraj, one of them, they had become Muslims. One person from one tribe, what did he do? That person from the tribe, he was sitting down. He said, you know what? This companion came from us. The person from the Khazraj said, that companion's from us. The person from the Aws said, that companion's from us. The person from the Khazraj said, that companion. They began to have a punch-up in front of the Prophet. The Prophet at that moment said, what are you doing? Now that Islam has come into your heart, you now bicker over these things? Whose companion belongs to who? Instead of holding on to the banner of La ilaha illallah and Muhammad Rasulullah, and holding on so that you are a strong, united force. When Rasulullah, Shariati says, when he came from Mecca to Medina, he brought the Muhajirun and he came towards the Ansar. Now you are the Muhajir and you are meeting Ansar. You are the muhajir from London. You are the muhajir from America. You are the muhajir from Europe or from different parts of the world. You have now come to meet the Ansar of Arabia, but come to meet them in unity with one another. When you pray jama'ah, don't bicker. Can I pray jama'ah behind this leader? Rather pray jama'ah, strong lines where you are able to prove to the